Episode 2, Shadows of Authority. Part 1, Blood in the Uniform. The rain thudded against the rooftop of Fort Vulcan like a steady drum of war. A thick fog crept over the perimeter fences as guards paced with rifles cradled against their chests. The base was quiet, but tension choked the air. Inside the barracks, Cassian Wolfe sat on the lower bunk, polishing his boots with methodical precision. Not because he cared for shine, but because control, even in silence, was power. A nearby soldier coughed nervously. Wolfe didn't look up. He never did. Not unless it mattered. In the officers' mess hall, whispers had started. Who is Lieutenant Wolfe? Where was he trained? He doesn't show up on old rosters. But no one dared ask him directly. Why? Because Wolfe had already won 2 simulated battles. The kind only the top brass could stage. In the last one, he disobeyed orders and outflanked the enemy in 19 minutes. It was brutal, efficient, and unorthodox. The brass loved him. The men feared him. That night, General Stratham called him in. "Lieutenant Wolfe, you're not like the others." Cassian stood still, back straight, hands behind his back. No salute. No words. Just presence. Stratham lit a cigar, squinting through the smoke. "You're not army-born, are you?" Wolfe stared. 1 heartbeat. 2. Then 3. "No, sir," he finally said. Stratham exhaled slowly. "Good. Because the army needs lions, not lapdogs." He tossed Wolfe a sealed folder. Classified Op Desert Covert. "You'll lead. No questions asked. This is where real soldiers are made." Wolfe left the room as calm as he entered. But something had shifted. For the first time, he wasn't hiding in the shadows. He was the shadow. Back in his quarters, Wolfe opened the folder under dim lamplight. Inside were coordinates, satellite prints, and names, targets. Not enemies. Not insurgents. U.S. soldiers. Traitors. Double agents. The army wasn't sending him to war. It was sending him to clean its sins. Wolfe's lips curled ever so slightly. The clean hand doesn't exist. The sun baked the edge of the Mojave base as Wolfe's transport chopper cut across the desert sky. Inside the steel belly of the bird, 4 soldiers sat beside him, elite, hand-picked, expressionless. Men who didn't speak unless ordered. Wolves without names. Wolfe's orders were sealed in his mind. No paperwork. No digital trace. 5 men. 5 targets. Former operatives turned rogue, selling intelligence to the highest bidder. Somewhere between patriot and parasite. Their location, a black site forgotten by oversight. An old CIA bunker, off-grid. A place the military once swore never existed. Wolfe checked his sidearm. Then his eyes shifted to the youngest of the team, Private Monroe. Barely 21. Green, but eager. Too eager. "You ever killed a man who spoke your language?" Wolfe asked him, quiet and steady. Monroe hesitated. "No, sir. Only simulations." Wolfe stared him down, then looked away. "It's different. It sticks." The helicopter dipped low. Dust rose like smoke as they landed in silence. No ceremony. No fanfare. Just boots on red earth and orders that could never be repeated. The bunker's entrance was buried under rock and scrub. Wolfe knelt, found the old keypad, and typed in a code, one even he didn't know how he learned. A cold metal hiss released as the doors groaned open. Inside, darkness. A flickering emergency light. Silence like a tomb. Then movement. Voices. Shouting. Gunfire erupted. Wolfe didn't blink. He moved like death incarnate, calculated, emotionless, effective. 2 targets went down before they even raised a weapon. The 3rd begged for mercy. Wolfe didn't shoot. He handed Monroe the sidearm. "Clean it." The kid froze. "Aye, sir. Do it. Or you don't walk out with us." His hand shook as he raised the gun. A single shot. The echo was deafening. Wolfe didn't react. It wasn't a test. It was a transformation. They moved to the final room. The last 2 targets had wired the place to blow, a failsafe. One tried to run. Wolfe caught him mid-step and smashed his head against the wall. Blood stained the concrete. The other reached for a detonator. Click. Nothing. Wolfe had already disarmed it. He stared the man in the eyes. You didn't sell out the country. You sold out the truth. Then silence. One more shot. By dawn, it was over. The bunker was ash. The bodies unidentifiable. The mission didn't exist. And Wolfe's name wasn't on any list. Back at base, General Stratham met him in a silent hallway, lit only by the early morning haze. You did what needed to be done, he said. Wolfe stepped past him. No, sir. I did what you didn't want to. Then he disappeared into the shadows of the corridor, uniform bloodied, jaw tight, soul unreadable. The army was creating a monster, and it was beginning to realize it too late. It was beginning. What it costs to erase a man. Fort Vulcan was quiet again, but silence no longer meant peace. It meant everyone was watching Wolfe, even if no one dared speak his name too loudly. He had returned from the desert with 4 men and no report. Just a bloodied uniform, a locked jaw, and eyes that never flinched. In the officers' mess, he ate alone. No one sat within 5 chairs of him. One lieutenant murmured, "That's the guy who buried a base." Another, "I heard one of his own men didn't come back." They were right. Private Monroe never returned. He hadn't died in combat. He had broken afterward. Couldn't speak. Couldn't eat. Couldn't stop shaking. Wolfe had handed in his dog tags to Stratham personally, with no explanation. Just a silent look that said, "You made this." But General Stratham didn't flinch either. He saw Wolfe for what he was now, a black weapon, forged in lies, wielded in silence. Days later, Wolfe was summoned again. But not by Stratham. A clean-cut man in civilian clothes waited in an interrogation room. He didn't say his name, just slid over a folder with a silver seal and a line of 6 digits at the top. No names. Just cases. "You're going dark," the man said. Wolfe didn't blink. "You'll get no insignia, no rank, no protection, only missions. And if I refuse?" Wolfe asked. The man smiled faintly. "You won't. You've already gone too far to walk back into sunlight." Wolfe left without shaking hands. Outside, it had started to snow. Quiet, cold, indifferent, like the world he was about to enter. That night, Wolfe sat alone in the barracks staring into a mirror. Not at his reflection, but through it, past the face, past the skin. There was no trace of the boy who forged a name to survive basic. No remnants of the man who bled beside soldiers in the dirt. Only this, a mask carved from necessity. A weapon wrapped in skin. He opened his footlocker. At the bottom, beneath folded fatigues, was an envelope. It held a single photo. A woman. His mother. Long dead. He hadn't looked at it in 5 years. He burned it. Because memory was a luxury Wolfe no longer had. By morning, he was gone. No transfer papers. No escort. Just an empty bed. And a legend that was only beginning. He wasn't a soldier anymore. He was a ghost with a uniform.